that. Another trans client, a man accused of sexually assaulting female co-workers, including locking one in a car until she slept with him. It's no wonder Derek Tran keeps trying to hide his trial lawyer past, because it tells us all we need to know. We can't trust Derek Tran. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Had enough of pests? Corky's provides comprehensive pest control. From ants and spiders to termites and wildlife, whatever pests you're dealing with, Corky's has you covered. Visit Corky'sPest.com for a free inspection today.
Corky's! All right, everybody down. This is a robbery. Keep quiet. Nobody gets hurt.
Law Brothers.
What are you doing? Are you whispering? We're standing right here. We can see you on the phone.
Yeah, hang it up.
I'm sorry, I can't. It's a client. Hey, make sure you tell them they don't pay unless they win.
I wish our lawyer had that deal.
The Law Brothers are always there for their clients.
You fancy guys do criminal law?
I was sexually assaulted when I was just a child. No one should have to go through that. For survivors, it's a nightmare. But for Derek Tran, it's nothing but a payday. Tran represented sexual predators, making a career denying women justice. Now Tran is running for Congress, trying to scare women into voting for him. Survivors deserve justice, and we all deserve better than Derek Tran.
I am Michelle Steele, and I approve this message.
Clippers Warriors, Saturday at 4 on KTLA.
Good morning, I'm Omar Lewis, live in LA's Beverly Grove neighborhood as Southern California's Jewish community rings in Rosh Hashanah with added security concerns. Coming up, we'll tell you how local law enforcement is taking extra steps to ensure safety at synagogues and places of worship.
Good morning, I'm Glenn Walker in today for Frank Buckley. Chilling new images of the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. This as dozens of people remain unaccounted for in communities left destroyed by the storm. We'll have the very latest.
And good morning, I'm Annie Rose Ramos. Prosecutors providing our fullest picture yet of their 2020 election case against former President Donald Trump. We're talking over 100 pages released by the judge weeks before the election. The details we're learning from those pages coming up.
Good morning, I'm Megan Tellison for Jessica Holmes. Costco has a new item that's selling like hotcakes. However, is it worth buying? We'll explain.
Hey, good morning. Polo star Nacho Figueres is here live in studio telling us what he is up to in the next few days and a big Time 100 honor for Sabrina Carpenter. We'll explain all that coming up.
All right, here's a quick look at instant weather, and it is going to be another hot weekend across Southern California with those temperatures in the upper 90s, low 100s one more time. Marine layer starting out early in the morning, but it burns off quite quickly once you get into the mid-morning, midday, afternoon times. 73 coastal. Downtown Los Angeles, 88. San Fernando Valley up to 102 degrees. 101 in the high desert, also Inland Empire and Orange County Inland at about 86 degrees. Complete details coming up in just a moment. Glenn, back to you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Law enforcement around Southern California is stepping up security at synagogues and other houses of worship. This is in light of the situation in the Middle East amid the first full day of the Jewish holiday, Rosh Hashanah. KTLA 5's Omar Lewis live now in LA's Beverly Grove neighborhood with more. Omar?
Glenn, good morning. Rosh Hashanah is a time of reflection and renewal for the Jewish community, but it's also coming with a time of reinforced security this year. I want to step out of the way and show you as services are underway inside of this place of worship here in Beverly Grove. We can also tell you that local police departments, they're increasing their patrols and say they have a strategic presence around synagogues to ensure safety during this sacred time. Rosh Hashanah began at sundown last night, marking the beginning of a new year for those of the Jewish faith. Law enforcement across LA increased security around synagogues and gathering sites. The LAPD says the department has been planning extensively, partnering with local and federal agencies to ensure a safe holiday season for the Jewish community. The Beverly Hills Police Department is also increasing patrols and working closely with private security firms to monitor any potential threats. They'll have officers on foot and specialized units stationed around places of of worship. This comes as fears rise following the recent escalation of violence in the Middle East. There have been concerns about anti-Semitic incidents here in Southern California following Israel's response to last year's October 7th attacks by Hamas in Israel. We know that locally and worldwide, anti-Semitism has increased dramatically since last October. We spoke to people attending service here this morning who say while their focus is on Rosh Hashanah, this year security is also at the top of their minds.
We try to always be happy, regardless of the circumstances. But we also are thinking about the hostages who are still held in Gaza. And obviously it's a little tarnished this year, but we always remain optimistic. We're obviously always thinking about, about security issues now more than ever. But we remain focused on the holiday and trusting that God will protect us.
And yesterday at the Jewish Federation Los Angeles on Wilshire Boulevard, a mural was unveiled to honor victims of the October 7th attack in Israel. The mural is a tribute to the over 1,200 Jewish people who were killed and the 100 still held hostage. Los Angeles has the second largest Jewish population here in the United States. Back out here live, we can tell you that local law enforcement says there are no credible threats against this community at this point, but they are urging everyone in the Jewish community to stay vigilant and aware. If you see anything suspicious, you're told to contact local law enforcement. That's the latest for now. Here live in LA's Beverly Grove neighborhood, I'm Omar Lewis. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Omar, thank you. Former President Donald Trump is blasting new court filings involving his actions following the 2020 election. Now, the documents have been unsealed by a federal judge. Mr. Trump calls the special counsel deranged. KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos is in the newsroom with the latest developments. Annie Rose, good morning.
Hey, Megan, good morning to you. These are newly unsealed court filings. We're seeing in them special counsel Jack Smith hammering home the accusation that former President Donald Trump tried everything in his power to effectively overthrow the democratic process. Now, in this 165-page document, landing just weeks ahead of the election, we're learning new details about this investigation. The filing saying in part, quote, when the defendant lost the 2020 presidential election, he resorted to crimes to try to stay in office. And when that did not work, prosecutors claiming Mr. Trump resorted to violence, pointing to him as directly responsible for the, quote, tinderbox that he purposely ignited on January 6th. Trump reacting to all of this on News Nation.
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. He just lost the big documents case. That was the biggest of them all. They said the documents case, and they said that was the toughest of them all. Let me tell you, and he works for Kamala and he works for Joe. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new.
Now, this case, we've been hearing about it for a while now, for over a year, held up because of Mr. Trump's claims of presidential immunity. In the summer, the Supreme Court finding that Trump is immune from his core acts he undertook as president, presumptively immune from a lot of the actions in this indictment, which then threw this case into the balance, forcing prosecutor Jack Smith to defend all of this information inside of the case. Now, here's what happens now. The judge overseeing this case, her name is Judge Tanya Chutkan. She now must go through the entire case and figure out what is considered an official act of the president, which would be immune, and what could be considered Trump's personal acts that are not immune, meaning he can be prosecuted for those actions.
So we're now back at the trial court with the prosecutor saying, I can move forward. I read that decision. We're talking about private conduct. There's no immunity here. It's now up to that trial court judge to determine whether or not she thinks there is any immunity in the remaining allegations.
All right, now some of what's inside these papers. One of them is an example prosecutors are pointing to from January 6th, when Vice President Mike Pence was forced to move to a secure location. A White House aide then running to inform Mr. Trump, who replied, quote, so what? Prosecutors claiming Trump conducted himself more as a candidate than as a president that day. A few days ago, the vice presidential candidates weighing in on this issue during the debate.
Remember, he said that on January the 6th, the protesters ought to protest peacefully. And on January the 20th, what happened? Joe Biden became the president. Donald Trump left the White House. And now, of course, unfortunately, we have all of the negative policies that have come from the Harris-Biden administration.
He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world.
All right, now Mr. Trump's legal team weighing in, arguing this filing is coming simply too close to the election. Trump calling this election interference. The judge in this case, Tanya Chutkan, who ordered this filing to be publicly released, is partly redacted, that filing. It's partially redacted, but now she must make the important determination about whether this case can still proceed. Megan?
Annie Rose, thank you for the updates there. Now, former First Lady Melania Trump has released a video promoting her upcoming memoir that appears to show her breaking with her husband on the topic of abortion rights.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth. Individual freedom. What does my body, my choice really mean?
So The Guardian obtained an advance copy of the memoir entitled Melania, in which she passionately defends abortion rights. She says it is imperative to guarantee that women have autonomy on having children without intervention from the government. That puts her out of step with her husband and most of the Republican Party, who have drastically curtailed abortion access since the Supreme Court's Dobbs versus Jackson decision back in 2022. Melania is set to be released in the U.S. next week.
President Biden touring the areas impacted by Hurricane Helene. He just arrived in Florida and will visit Georgia later today. Yesterday, the president took a ride aboard Marine One to see the devastation in North Carolina firsthand. He then activated up to 1,000 U.S. troops to help the state's National Guard deliver food, water, and medicine to stranded residents. The death toll from Helene has risen to 202.